This is a Sandy Boy Productions podcast.
Welcome to Finish Lines and Milestones, a podcast to celebrate everyday runners. I'm your host, Allie Bretnacher, and if you run, you're a runner, and every runner has a story. Join me every Friday as I share these stories, and we cross finish lines and celebrate milestones together. This week's episode is brought to you by Previnex. Previnex offers clinically effective supplements that promote longevity, performance, and everyday health. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you've heard me talk about Previnex. I use their products every single day. And the product I'm going to mention today is their Gut and Green Superfoods. It is a green. I usually take it before my morning coffee, literally one of the first things I do when I wake up. If you've taken a green before, you're currently taking one, Previnex is likely better. It's likely less expensive than what you're taking and also has less junk than what you're taking. And maybe even tastes better too, because it tastes pretty darn good for a green. It's got this like sour apple flavor. Anyway, I take it every morning, and if you don't take a green today and you're like, why should I do that? It's for natural energy purposes, digestive health, even some anti-aging benefits. So for me, I really notice the natural energy. I find myself not craving as much coffee. I find myself really wanting to start my day with these greens. So if you'd like to give Previnex greens a try, you can go to Previnex, Previnex.com, and you can use code Allie, ALLYB, that's Allie B, for 15% off your first order. Thank you so much to Previnex for supporting this podcast. Now, for this week, we are now in August, which is crazy to think about. I know everyone says that, but literally, where did the summer go? My oldest daughter starts second grade next Wednesday, so we're less than a week out of school starting. Some schools close to us already started, if you can believe that. I'm sure if people are listening to this from West or East Coast, it's perhaps very different, but it's wild. Here we are. So I have a second grader, and as I record this, my oldest daughter is 8. Her birthday is July 31st, and so we're going to celebrate her. We've been celebrating her, I think, all month, so going to continue to do that tonight and over the weekend. And I've been, like a lot of you, struggling through the summer running. And then I feel bad when I complain about the heat because my friend Selena, in particular from Texas, is like, well, welcome to my life. And I have internet friends that run in Florida and everywhere else. But man, in the Midwest right now, it is hotter than normal. So I think that's why we're all like, what in the heck? The humidity, the dew point's super high. It feels like running inside of like a steam room. And yesterday I had my long run, which I do on Wednesdays, and those will switch actually, I think, starting next week or so to Fridays. But I had 11 miles easy, quotes if you're watching, easy, and decided with my coach that it'd be a good opportunity for me to push my daughter Sydney before she goes back to school. And I have somebody to push because I'm training for the Marine Corps Marathon, where I will push for an organization called Ainsley's Angels. So anyway, so I pushed Sydney for 11 miles. It's the most I've ever pushed. And it was probably the hottest I've ever run in. I mean, pretty close to it. And where I run on the Monon Trail in Indianapolis, there are a few bridges and hills. And all I could think about was this splash pad that's kind of in downtown Carmel. And we made it there, and I took off my shoes, and we spent, 10 minutes running through that. So it was great. I am acclimating, I think, to the heat. We did it. It was really hard though. So I also want to make you aware, if you're listening to this the week it comes out, there is a 5K you should know about that's in Avon, Indiana, and it's called That 5K. Like, are you running That 5K? It stands for Tori's Hike for Another Tomorrow, and it was started by Tori's family in her honor. Her sister, Christina Hook, was actually on episode 65 of this podcast. If you want to know more of the story behind it, go back and listen to that. But if you're looking for some miles with company, please join us August 9th. And I will link that in the show notes and in my social media so that you can find that and register if you are local. And then, speaking of hard things, this week's episode is with Michele Pettinger. I just met Michele. We were introduced by somebody I used to work for. And so Michele is in the midst of a big comeback, and she is going to have the biggest December ever, where she is going to run CIM and qualify for Boston. She's wanting to do that for every decade that she's able. And then also is hoping to be at the live drawing for Western States. If you're not familiar with Western States, it's a very prestigious ultramarathon. It has a lottery that's really hard. I'll equate it to the majors that road runners typically deal with, getting into those. So poor Michelle's been trying for a long time. And in the midst of her journey in getting her attempts to qualify her tickets, if you will, she was hit by a car while running. And so we talk about coming back post-babies. We talk about coming back from her accident. And I'm really excited to be able to cheer her on at the end of this year. She also wrote a book, which we discuss and is linked in the notes, for young athletes and nutrition, because Michele is now, outside of her day job, she is also a running coach and a nutrition coach and is supporting young athletes with that knowledge as well. So I'll link to that book. So her website is p3running.com. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with Michele Pettinger. Welcome, Michele.
Hi, Allie.
Good morning to you. You're on the West Coast.
Yes. 9:30 is not a bad time. Last week I had a 6 a.m. and that was
That's a little brutal. Yeah, I can't really form sentences that early in the morning. So I want to talk about how we got connected because I think it's so cool. This world is so small somehow, but I worked for a friend of yours, Scott Miller, back in the day, like early, what was it, like 2010, 2011, I worked for Scott. Scott and I have traveled to Brazil together, of all things. Okay. Yes. So we were at a birthday party for, my 4-year-old's friend. And he was there with his kid. And I was like, Scott, what in the world are you doing here? I never would have expected to see him there. So we got reconnected. I was telling him about what I was doing. And he said, okay, you got to meet Michele. Got to talk to Michele. She has this amazing book. And I was like, you don't need to tell me anything else. Just please connect me. So here we are.
Yes.
Remind me how you know Scott.
So Scott and I grew up together.
Oh my gosh.
And our parents were friends. Our families went to the same church. And he and my brother were best friends. And so our families just kind of naturally did a lot of things together. And then my brother and Scott have stayed in touch, and I probably haven't seen Scott for like 30 years, but I really respect what he's doing with his coaching. And so we've definitely been cheering each other on in those endeavors.
That's so amazing. Yeah, I worked with him when we worked for the city. That's why we went to Brazil. We worked for the city of Indianapolis together. For anyone who's like, wait, what? You just went to Brazil? It was for work and it was great. And you said you grew up with Scott. So I don't remember where he was from exactly. Where did you grow up?
Freeport, Illinois.
So Illinois.
Northern Illinois. Yeah. And my dad coached him because he did run in high school. I think maybe he transitioned to football at some point, but
that's funny to think about, just knowing Scott. But well, I'm so glad he connected us again.
Yes. So thank you, Scott.
Yes. Thank you, Scott. If you listen to this, we appreciate you. And now we're going to nerd out about running. So
yes,
you might not want to listen. I don't know, but you've been a runner for a really long time, for most of your life, Michele. So could you tell people just how you ended up in the sport?
Well, I mentioned that my dad coached. He was the high school track and cross country coach, and he also ran. And my brother ran. So I grew up in a house of runners, and I grew up going to cross-country meets and track meets with my dad when I was little. And I just remember I have super fond memories of those times, helping him set up the cross-country shoot and those cold fall Midwest mornings and drinking hot chocolate and just...
Yeah. It sounds amazing.
And watching my dad and feeling close to him in that environment. And I know that subconsciously there were so many things kind of sinking into me at that time that I didn't even realize. The way he coached, how that environment was just in my, starting to like sink into my blood, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I remember being 12 when I went on my first run, and I asked my dad to take me on a run. It was exactly 1 mile from our house to the stop sign and back. And that's what started it.
That's so cool.
So I ran in high school, but I did not run in college.
Okay.
And my 20s. Do you want me to go on into?
Well, I'm like, okay, how do I get my 2 kids to love this sport? And so I love your story, like growing up with your dad, being around the sport, kind of just naturally you ended up there too. And so my girls, I volunteer at races, I spectate, I run. And so I'm just trying to show them, as much as I can. But I didn't hold them off very long for running. We just did a race in Indianapolis that was a mile race together.
Oh, nice. And how did they like that?
They love it. So that's good. I'm like, okay, like no pressure. We don't have to run fast. We can walk. We can do whatever. My 4-year-old was in the stroller, and then she decided about a fourth of the way in, she wanted to run. And so I said, okay, you don't have to run the whole time, but if you'd like to run, go ahead. And we did it. And it was great. So I just love being able to share my love of that with them, but also trying really hard not to push it on them. So it sounds like your dad didn't push that on you. You just kind of were around it so much that you ended up enjoying it as well.
Right. He didn't push it. And I feel like I did the same in raising our daughter. It's like we've been living a certain lifestyle that she's observed, but she played club soccer growing up until her junior and senior year of high school. And then she moved to running, but we would do family 5Ks together, and same thing. Just, we can run, we can walk. Mm-hmm. I'm going to feed you honey stinger chews as we go.
Yeah, I'll bribe you a little bit. These taste great. Yeah. That's so much fun. Yeah. So what about your mom growing up? Did she run?
She did not. But she was a walker. She was a fierce and fast walker. And yeah, she'd get that out there and get her exercise in, but in a different way.
Yeah. And so you ran in high school. What was your favorite event? Did you like track or cross country better?
Country.
Okay.
Cross country.
I should have guessed that, given the fact that you run now very far.
Yeah, I like to go hide in the woods,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't like to be front and center on the track. That was a really uncomfortable thing for me in high school. And I think one of those things that influenced, part of the book too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you decided not to run in college. Would you have had a chance to run in college if you wanted to?
Honestly, I don't know. It wasn't something I pursued. The college had a team. My brother ran. We went to the same college, but.
Okay. Where did you end up going to undergrad?
Cedarville University.
Okay. Where is that?
It's in Ohio. Cedarville, Ohio. Yeah. Small liberal arts school.
Yeah. I'm trying to picture where that is related. I went to Miami of Ohio.
So near Dayton, Springfield.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And so what moved you to California then? How did you end up on the West Coast from the Midwest?
Well, there was a journey there. So I did my undergrad at Cedarville, and then I went from Cedarville to Baylor University for my master's in Texas.
Okay, I was like, tell me where that is. I should know, but
yeah, Waco, Texas. Yep. And then from there, I went to Nashville, Tennessee. I was in Nashville for about 4 years, and then things weren't working out great in Nashville, and so my best friend had moved to the Bay Area, and she said, "Hey, we've got a room in the house. Come join us." So I packed up everything I could in my Honda Accord and drove across country and started my West Coast life.
Wow. So what were you pursuing from a professional standpoint after school, like in Nashville and what'd you get I should know what you got your master's in, but I forget.
I was in communications. Okay. And my first job out of school was for a local newspaper.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then I also worked for a publishing house there and for a local author. I'm an assistant to a local author. So I did have writing, but none of those jobs paid the bills. And so I was also waiting tables.
I mean, yeah, you gotta make the money somehow. That's crazy that I didn't realize you'd worked with an author with a publishing house. That had to be so incredibly helpful when you went to go on and publish yourself, I would assume. It was
helpful for sure.
So then what did you do when you got to the Bay Area?
So I started by waiting tables. and then I got a job in the tech sector as a technical writer.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's right. I did see that.
Yeah.
So
I
like
work,
documentation type of stuff.
Mhm.
Is that what
And
technical? Okay.
software user
Yep.
manuals, the manuals
Yep.
that no one really ever reads, but are
Yeah.
important to have.
Which shoot are now probably written by AI half the time. You're just going to end up having proofreaders. Yeah, that's crazy. So I was in software for most of my career on the sales side. So I've definitely read a lot of that documentation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
I could never write it. That's for sure. So that is impressive. And so weaving running into this, Michelle,
Mhm.
when you were in college, did you still run like for fitness and for fun? Like
Mhm.
when did you start doing races?
So I ran recreationally, just like you were saying, for fitness, for fun through my 20s. And then in 98, when I was 28, I ran my first marathon, the San Diego Rock and Roll
Oh, wow.
Marathon. And that was inspired by my uncle. He did not start running marathons until he was 40, but I was in high school at that time. So I was watching his marathon trajectory and
Mm-hmm.
his marathon story, and I wanted to have that. And so I decided to run he was the first person I called when I finished that marathon.
Oh, that's really
And
cool.
so that's really, once I ran that first marathon, that's what started my long distance.
Mm-hmm. Is it safe to assume that your uncle is your dad's brother?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was like, well, with the running,
Yeah.
probably safe to assume. And how did you end up choosing San Diego of all places?
I was in California.
Oh, you
I
had gotten
moved,
to California
yeah,
at
I'd
that
gotten to
time.
California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess that's, I was trying to do the math and did it wrong. So after you were probably what, like 19, 20 when you graduate college. So yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That had to be so fun for your first marathon. I love the rock and roll environment.
It
It's a
it
fun one.
was, and my best friend ran it with me, and all
Mm,
of our roommates at the time. We made it a trip. Yeah.
that's the best. What do you remember about that training? Like how did you rely on your dad and your uncle a little bit to be like, how the heck do I plan for this? Or what did that look like?
I think my uncle gave me some. This was a few years ago.
Yeah, well, I know. You're like, I don't know. I just did it.
But it's certainly, I know that it didn't look like what it looks like now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
fair.
struggling to get goose down and not taking in enough hydration with the
Mm-hmm.
goose.
Totally. Wearing
And
cotton probably. And
yes, I'm
yeah.
sure. I need to find photos if there are any of that. I'm sure I probably had a cotton t-shirt and like the old school Nike run shorts.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
Totally.
probably
Yep.
was the fit.
Yep. Yep. I can picture some of the older running photos for me. So my dad is actually the one who kind of got me into running too, because he started a little later in life because my mom was running. She ended
Okay.
up having hip problems and then now she doesn't run, but he does. He caught the bug. And so he's how I got the bug as well. But when I think about old pictures, like you mentioned, I picture pictures of me and my dad race day morning wearing our cotton socks, our cotton shirts, and our old, like, yeah, Nike shorts, probably. So funny. Yeah, please do
Yeah.
find some pictures, Michelle. That would be great.
Okay.
Because 98, that's great. The 90s running scene. I love to think about it.
I'll let you go ahead. I'm like, do you run with your dad now?
Yeah, well, we have done marathons together and
Awesome.
he has prioritized his golf game. That's what I usually say. So
Oh,
now he and I are both signed up for the Marine Corps Marathon this October. And so he keeps saying, one more marathon, one more marathon. So he's 69. So I'm hopeful that he'll be able to train and get it done. We'll
yeah.
see. We'll see. But yeah. So after that marathon, you call your uncle. Did you still have your dad at that time too? Because I know he's since passed away, but he was still living at the time.
I did. I
Okay.
did. Yeah.
So was he your
And
second
I,
call
I
then?
called my dad too.
Yeah. Like right
But
after.
yeah.
Yeah.
I, yeah.
That's really special though to have that relationship with your uncle. I like that.
Yeah.
So did you catch the bug right away after doing your first marathon or was it a slower burn?
I did. I caught the bug, and then I think my next marathon was maybe Portland,
Okay.
and that would have been in 2000. It was right around the time that I met my husband.
Okay. How
And
did you guys meet?
We met here in Capitola, where we currently live.
Okay.
And it was a eyes meet across the bar type of
I love that.
situation. And we've been together ever since.
Oh, I love that's so great. What a good story. Like we just looked at each other and we're like, yeah, I'll have you. You're the one.
To simplify it, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, to simplify it. So Portland, I hear Portland and almost anything on the West Coast. And I'm a flatlander from Indiana. So how elevation wise, how's Portland? That's gotta be pretty hilly, right?
I
Or
think I know it's changed over the years. There are a couple bridges. I want to say St. John's Bridge is
okay.
one of them. I remember that being a little bit of a struggle. So it was more the up and over the bridges. And then when I ran it twice. And there was also an industrial section that was just kind of,
Huh.
the mind numbing
Yeah. Just
industrial area.
okay. And I guess before we keep going, I realize in context of the book that you have written, when you were in high school, did you have issues with, nutrition, body image, eating disorders, anything like that? Because I know that's something that, in your book, you're trying to help young people develop a good relationship with food as athletes. I just didn't want to make sure, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss that whole piece because we didn't talk about it when we were talking about your high school running.
Right. Nutrition was really not at the forefront of conversation in the 80s around, track and cross country. There just wasn't really a conversation around it. And science has come a long way since then. But what I do have to say is that growing up in the Midwest and two parents as school teachers, I had 3 squares a day. I wasn't leaving the house without breakfast. I had a packed lunch. I had dinner on the table, meat, potato, veggie every night. I understand that a lot of people don't grow up in that type of environment, but I had that as a base. I did not have any problems with disordered eating growing up.
That's good.
I think that I had body image. I know that body image issues, and I think that's just so common and relevant.
Sadly.
And I didn't really necessarily understand at the time, but as I reflect, I see that I had that happening.
Right. For me, it's like, as I reflect, I had disordered eating in college and I didn't even really realize it until now. I'm like, yeah, that was really not a healthy relationship with food and with running, even, as a matter of fact. So
is there like a moment in time that you're aware where you shifted out of that and what maybe allowed you to move out of that?
I don't know for sure, but I bet you it was being in a relationship is what probably shifted it. Being in a relationship with somebody, feeling comfortable and supported, and then not worrying about that as much. But I can't remember. I can't really remember to pinpoint it. But if I had to guess, that's what I would probably say. But yeah, feels like another lifetime ago. Okay, so sorry for that quick turn. Okay. And so you've done San Diego, Portland. We're in the early 2000s. And it's got to be a blur. I looked and you have, just on Athlinks, I just saw so many races that you've done, Michele. So many. Do you have a spreadsheet? How do you keep track? Do you keep track?
I have not been good about keeping track. Athlinks helps the memory, and Ultra Sign Up helps.
Okay, Ultra Sign Up, of course, yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
But I do, from those early 2000s, what I remember, because I met my husband and he is a gifted athlete in his own right, and cycling and surfing.
Okay.
And he was cycling at the time. And I decided I would do a sprint triathlon. And so he helped me get my bike, and we were in Santa Cruz at the time. And so I took an open water swim class, and I remember I wanted to go on a ride and he needed to do a recovery ride. So we decided to go together.
Oh, perfect.
Which was his recovery was a complete sufferfest for me. So it was soon
like, I need you to be like, not even recovery pace. I need you like sub recovery pace, please.
Soon realized that that was not going to be something that we did together. And I discovered that I like terra firma, like
Okay,
feet
what
on the
is that?
ground.
Oh, terra firma. I've
Yeah.
never heard that term in my life. So now I know. I learned something today. Thank you.
Anyway,
Terra firma.
feet on the ground, and
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
my triathlon career was short.
As was mine. I'm a horrible swimmer and I had a mountain bike. I didn't invest in a road bike, so it wasn't competitive. Let's just put it that way. It was just an experience and I did it. So, yeah. So has he crossed over into running at all?
He runs recreationally. He's done some
Okay.
half marathons, talked about doing a marathon, gets to about the 18-mile training run, and then decides that he'd rather be on his bike or in the water surfing.
Wow. And you're like, man, you're so close. You could go run a marathon now. Like if you wanted to.
Right.
Just
That's
experience
the
it.
desire needs to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. But that's impressive still getting all the way to that point in training. That's a long way. Most people have not run 18 miles. So, and wait, did you ran half marathons, you said, in college or when you were younger and then went to the marathon, or was the marathon your first like long distance race?
The marathon was my first long distance race.
That is always so interesting to me how people start there. I did so many half marathons and didn't think I would ever do a marathon.
Half marathon leading up to it, but I honestly don't remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, early 2000s. And then we got married and then we had our daughter in 2003.
Okay. And how old would you have been when you had her?
33.
33. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did not run throughout my pregnancy. I started to, and it just didn't feel right for me. I did water aerobics.
Oh, there you go. That's hard. I mean,
so I was walking and exercising, but running wasn't a part. I also think that we have more information too around running safely through.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm sure, gosh, back then people would probably be like, you're going to, hurt your baby by doing that because they didn't know any better. And like women running wasn't, as what it is today, certainly.
Right.
Yeah. So
then, but as after I gave birth, I thought I was just going to bounce back and start running again. Well, it didn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's probably about 6 months, but then I started to train for the Des Moines half marathon.
Okay.
The following October. So it was when she was just turning 1. That was my first race back. And my uncle was there and my parents. And so that's a special memory, that race, first half marathon back after,
yes.
I'm pumping milk in the hotel room,
Yeah.
before and after, and just having the whole family together. That was, kind of another new chapter.
Yeah. Right. And so what made you pick Des Moines? Did your uncle live there, or was there family there, or was it just?
He was living in New Jersey at the time, and I think just decided to, come at me. I don't know if I said, hey, I'm going to do, Des Moines is going to be my first half marathon back, and he decided to come, or he was running it, and I decided to go.
Yeah. You're like me. There's certain things I remember, and then there's a lot of stuff I'm like, I just have no idea. If I didn't write it down or I didn't put it in my spreadsheet, then it may not exist anymore. Okay. And so your first half marathon back, do you remember, did you get emotional when you crossed the finish line? Do you remember that?
Yes. And I remember I have a very vivid picture in my mind of the picture, the post-race picture, holding Annika and,
yeah, I do too. I remember that my husband came, his parents came too, I think to help him bring our baby downtown, which is funny to think about now. And I remember seeing her and she's still in her pajamas and it was so funny. And then you're like, so I've got this picture of her, she's in her jammies. I've got my medal and I've got like a Mick Ultra in one hand. And yeah, it's just a different experience as a mom.
It is. Totally.
Yeah. To prove, at least for me, it was like proving to myself, I can still do this. And I remember my first marathon back and just being like, okay, I'm not past my prime, which is what I thought.
Right.
So,
I can still do this. I'm back.
mm-hmm.
I'm loving this.
So
Yes.
how long did it take you then to end up doing 100 milers?
So let's see, that would have been '04. And then, so life took us from there to Bend, Oregon.
Okay.
And we lived in Bend, Oregon for about a year and a half. And that's really where I fell in love with trail running. I joined a weekend group run. Foot Zone, I think, is the running store there. And we had trails right out our door. So
Oh,
I started to embrace trail running. And we were only there for about a year and a half before life took us up to Seattle.
okay.
And when I got to Seattle, I was pretty cranky
You're like, I want to stop moving, please. You have a small kid at this point, probably.
about my running. You
Oh,
know, I didn't know anyone. I was in a city. The trails were a 30-minute drive away. So I definitely kind of went through a little pity party around my running when we first
mm-hmm.
got there. But at the same time, West Seattle, where we lived, was getting their first running store.
Oh,
And Tim and Lori McConnell, the owners, have just built a fabulous community there. And I was able to plug into that. And then it
that's
was also
amazing.
at that time that the technical writing contract work that I was doing for company down in California, that was coming to a close. And I thought, and I'd been working from home for years, and Annika was just 3 at this time. I wanted to continue to work outside the home, so I was like, what do I really want to do? And I was already loosely coaching friends at the time,
Oh,
and I thought, I want to be a running coach.
so
So
that's so cool. Yeah.
I started P3 running in 2009.
Wow.
And the West Seattle Runner, the running store there, was very influential in helping me get my business launched by doing, group programs.
And so how did that work with Annika? She's 3. You start your own business. Was she in daycare? Did she have care, or were you home with her and doing your business? How did that work?
I was home with her. I had, a sitter helping. She started preschool when she was 4.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
soon she was in preschool, and then
Yeah.
started.
I asked that partially, Michelle, because I started my own business, several years ago now, and I still send my youngest to daycare, now preschool. But it was like I had this guilt thing for a while because I was, doing something that wasn't bringing in really any income, and, still sending my kid to school to daycare. But thankfully, my husband has a great job in tech, and that helps support us. So I feel really lucky to be able to do it. But as I've met more moms like me, it's interesting to hear how we kind of orchestrate what works best for our family and our dreams.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, because there was definitely guilt along
Which
the
is
way.
crazy.
That's one thing I talk about, is like there's too much guilt that we put on ourselves, and
Mm-hmm.
we need to have more grace for ourselves, because we're chasing dreams, and part of our chasing dreams is to model that for
Yes,
our children. And
absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I forget where I first heard the phrase, like, be a model, not a martyr. Like, and that has just stuck with me ever since. It's like,
like
yeah, I
that.
want to see my girls grow up to do what they want and chase their dreams. And so, hopefully this inspires them to do that versus me giving up on everything and waiting around until society dubs it okay for me to then do something different. Because it really is just the societal pressure that makes you feel like you shouldn't be doing that. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So P3 running. What is P3? Where's the name come from?
Well, two things. Our last name is Pettinger, and there are 3 of
Oh,
us.
there's the
So
P.
there's
Oh,
P3, but then train with purpose, run with passion, always persevere.
perfect. Ha,
So,
another P.
when I was whiteboarding on the living room wall, okay, what are potential names? That's those 2 things kind of came together, and that's
Yeah, I love that. And so when you became a coach in that time, What did that landscape look like? I feel like now, this is an exaggeration, but everybody's a running coach. Like there's so much more opportunity out there. It's much more common. When you first started your business, like how did you even get into coaching other people, even casually, just like on the side?
So I got my certification level 1 through RRCA in 2009. And then I started with the running store and advertising my coaching there, giving Run 101 talks, doing a half marathon training program, like group program. And then I also started a Tuesday night track workouts. So I met people through those group environments, going to group runs at the store. And then the one-on-one clients or athletes came from those. And then it was mostly word of mouth from there.
That's amazing. I mean, I just think about, I wonder how many run coaches there were in the United States when you went through your level 1 certification compared to now. Like it's got to be.
That would be a really interesting statistic to look up.
Because it's, sure. I ran my first half marathon in 2007. So I've been running for a while.
And I didn't get it. What was your first half?
I am in Indianapolis and I did the Indy Mini, which is the one that goes around the Motor Speedway in May.
I've pushed an athlete for that race.
Oh, yeah. It's a blast if you ever want to come out for that. But it's an amazing race. But I remember I did so many half marathons, even a couple of marathons. And then it was post-pandemic even that I was introduced to the idea of using a coach. So I'd been running for so long. And my thought was always, oh, coaches are for the elite athletes. Like elite athletes have coaches. That makes sense. But why would I ever have a coach? So I'm just so surprised, like 2009, like I feel like from my point of view, early in the days of truly like run coaching. So it'd just be interesting because it had to be, I don't know. I just wonder if it was like even in the thousands at all, like if it was just hundreds of coaches, because now surely it's like, I don't know. I don't even know. I should look it up.
Okay.
I'm curious.
We'll put that on our to-do list.
I'm going to put that on my to-do list. Okay. So you got your level 1, you started coaching people in this community and let's see. So now you're in Seattle. So you're not doing as much trail running. During the time you were in Oregon, did you end up doing your first ultra? Is that the time frame that would have happened, or was it
not till we were in Seattle? And one of the women I coached, that we became friends, and she had done some trail running, and she started showing me the ISI Alps. It's the Cougar Mountain, Squawk Mountain, Tiger Mountain, the 30 to 40 minute drive outside of Seattle. So I started to dabble in the trails there, and it's amazing single track. One of my probably first or second favorite place to run. So I started to get my feet wet on the trails out there and understand that it was a 30-minute drive, but that was okay.
It was worth it.
Was it? Yes. And then as part of it was right around the store's opening, and they hosted a viewing of Running the Sahara. Is that right? Running the Sahara at the local movie theater. And I thought in the back of my head about doing a 50K someday. I was turning 40, and I thought, well, what am I waiting for?
Not getting any younger, as they,
What am I waiting for? And so I picked a 50K in Oregon, the Siskiyou Outback 50K. That was 2010, and that was my first ultra.
Wow, 2010. And so for people who don't know, it's 31.1 miles, give or take.
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing. And how old would Annika have been?
7.
Okay.
Turning 7. Yes.
Okay. Cause that's my oldest is almost 8. So I'm just trying to like visualize that time frame of like, wow, doing an ultra at that time.
Yeah. And so, I have pictures of her at that race. So also part of her growing up was crewing me at these ultras.
And in this time, are you still doing marathons? Cause you've run, I see the Boston marathon medal in the background, and you've done others. So New York City you've done. So Yeah. When did those come in? Are those
So
later or?
they are. So I kind of put both feet in the trail world there for a while, but I had a goal of running Boston in the back of my mind. It had been there for a while. And so it was in 2014, 2015, I decided that I wanted to go after that goal. I would be turning 45 when I would be in that 45 age group when I ran Boston. So it gave me five more at the time. It gave me
Right.
5 more minutes. And it's like, okay, so I'm gonna go for it now. So my first attempt was LA Marathon in 2015 to qualify. Did not hot, just not my day. Did not have a good
Yeah.
race, but we get up, we wipe ourselves off, we pick the next, okay, what's going to be the next mini goal that's going to help me reach this dream? And I picked Victoria Marathon that
And where is
following.
that?
Victoria, BC, so British Columbia.
Oh, okay. All right. Up in Canada.
Yeah, we were in Seattle though, so not,
Yeah.
easier to get to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that let's see, that was the fall of 2015. I got my BQ, but it was like a 2.5 minute buffer, and I didn't feel confident in that. I was like, I feel like I need at least 5 minutes. And so then in the spring of 2016, I went and ran Napa Marathon and ran a 3:45 and had, almost a 10-minute buffer. And so I was like, okay,
Michelle.
I'm good.
Yeah. That's amazing. Isn't Napa really a hilly marathon?
It's not more rolling in the first half,
Okay.
but it's actually net down.
It is.
So it's
Okay.
actually you can see the,
Oh, that's the marathon route. Oh, that's so cool.
that's the profile. Yeah. So,
Okay. Wait, would you have needed that 10-minute buffer, or would the 2.5 minutes have been enough?
yeah, I think the 2.5, I think that year it would have been
Ended
enough,
up,
but
yeah. Hey,
that's okay.
still, yeah, that's
That's okay.
totally,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, and you never know. And how much would
Right.
you regret then?
Right.
Now anyway, yeah, I'm going after it at some point, and I just feel like you need a 20-minute buffer. I don't know. It's like,
Well, I have more to say about that, but I'll
yeah.
wait.
Okay.
Because it has to do with what's happening this year.
Okay.
But also during that time, I had already run my first 100. I ran my first 100 at Mountain Lakes in 2014. And then
the same year you did your 50K?
no, 4
Wait,
years
okay.
later. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, but that's the same year that you ran Boston, or ran your marathon to try to qualify for Boston.
It was the year before. Sorry.
Year before. I mean, we got to try to keep track of this.
Yeah.
I can't. You've run so many races.
But it was in 2015 that I ran the Miwok 100K. And the Miwok 100K was my first Western States qualifying race.
Yes. Okay. So tell people, I know there's definitely trail runners that listen to this podcast, but tell the road runners what Western States is and how that journey started for you.
Western States is I think it is the oldest, like most iconic, not most challenging, but iconic 100-mile trail races. And I was inspired to run it from really when I first started running 100-milers, and watched some documentaries on it. And I was like, I really, really want that someday.
Wow.
And so at that point in time, so you have to run a qualifying race in the year of the lottery. And then you get your first time in the lottery, you have one ticket. And then the second year you get two, and then it doubles. And so it's 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. And at the time you would lose your tickets if you skipped a year. And then they introduced a bye year, like everybody got a bye year. And then they eventually changed it to where you don't lose your tickets.
That seems
But
nice. Yeah.
I entered the lottery from 2015 through 2019.
Which is just absolutely incredible because you have to run a qualifying race every year. And how many qualifying races are there approximately?
Ooh, I'd have to look it up, but there's 60
Like it's
plus maybe.
okay, 60. That's good. I mean, I was like, are there only like a handful? Is it?
Also somewhere it was changed that it had to be, I think back in the day you could qualify with a 50-mile race, but then they changed it to 100K.
100K. Okay. That was going to be one of my next questions because obviously 100K is not a 100-mile race. So as long as you do that distance at a qualifying race, is there a time element to that or you simply complete it and then the ticket goes in?
Some of the races, it depends. Some of them are, you just need to finish, within a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Or others have like some race, the finish time might be 17 hours, but for Western, you have to finish in 16.
Oh, okay. Jeez, that's so much running. That's a lot of running, Michele. Okay, so you do your first 100-mile race. What was that experience like? Tackling, even the 100K we could talk about for the next 45 minutes. Real quick, I wanted to take a second to tell you about a few more shows that are in the Sandy Boy Productions podcast network. Of course, you probably already know I'll have another with Lindsay Hine, hosted by the one and only Lindsay Hine. There are a couple other shows in her network that have to do with running. So if you like this podcast, you might like those as well. There's also the Trail Network podcast. It's hosted by ultra runners Leah Yingling, Rachel Drake, Katie Asmuth, and Hillary Yang. And they talk all about magical moments in trail running. And then we also have the Miles with Moms podcast, which is a podcast for moms who run by moms who run. And their goal is for mother runners everywhere to never have to run alone or feel alone in their mom life struggles or journey to accomplish big goals. So if you like this podcast, you're going to like them too. Those podcasts are all available anywhere you listen to podcasts. So be sure to go check them out. Okay, back to the show. Okay, so you do your first 100-mile race. What was that experience like? Tackling, even the 100K we could talk about for the next 45 minutes.
Well, my first 100-miler is memorable in that my husband Joe and Annika, my daughter Annika, were there, and my good friend John Wallace was part of my crew and my pacer, and he's amazing. He's part of the streaker, like he's run a mile for a day. Like he's way up there.
So interesting. People are incredibly interesting.
And
wow.
So he was my pacer, and the race, it was going okay. I was staying under cutoffs, and then during the night, I started to hallucinate. I was hallucinating Joe and Annika on the side of the trail. Tree stumps were bears. I kept thinking that I saw the aid state, like the next aid station. I kept thinking I saw white canopies, like,
yeah,
surely it's coming.
Yeah.
And so I definitely slowed through the night, and I had headlamp issues. And then we got to the last aid station. I think it was like 3 miles to go, and it was an hour until the 30-hour cutoff. And I had to finish in under 30 hours to get the belt buckle. And I remember the aid station volunteer, he looked at me and he said, "I know you can do this." He said, it's gonna hurt and it's gonna be hard, but you can do this. And I dropped my pack. I had my pacer go in front of me. I just put my eyes on his feet and just went for it. Found something else in my body that I didn't know existed. And I was the last finisher, or at least the last finisher under 30 hours. And I don't know, I have to go look. It might have been less than a minute to spare.
Holy crap. In a 100-mile race where it's 30 hours, it's like, what percentage is 1 minute? Like, that's so time. Like, the closeness of that is wild. That's amazing. And so after that, you're like, oh, okay, like, I just want to keep doing this.
Well, I know the blisters after that race were pretty gnarly too, but I think that I carry that with me in so many races. The strength that I found and that I gained and that I still carry with me from that 1 hour experience, it has benefited me many times.
Yeah. I could see using that a lot. Like, remember how much you thought that sucked, like, and you couldn't do it, but you did. Yeah. I actually use a moment in my most recent marathon for when I feel, I'm like, do you remember when you thought, you had a couple miles to go and you thought you were going to fall over, and then you just pushed through that and you didn't fall over? Like, it's fine. So,
Right.
yeah. And I mean, just thinking about how much of a roller coaster that probably is over the course of 30 hours versus 4. So at this time, are you using a coach yourself?
I was not at that time.
Okay. And have you ever?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I find it so interesting because it's like, well, you obviously have all the knowledge to coach yourself, but, do you still need that push and accountability and somebody to, I don't know, yeah, hold you accountable, make sure you do. But I find it when runners are like running 100 miles, it's like you don't need the motivation, it doesn't seem like, to go chase big goals. So, and now you've run every 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then in 2020, you were hit by a car while you were running, Michele?
Yes.
That's so awful. I'm so sorry.
It was during the pandemic had started, and I was just putting in miles for myself. And yeah, it happened. I was headed out for a 20-mile run. I was less than a mile from home, and it was running through kind of a precarious intersection, like a 3-way intersection. And one of those where drivers like to roll the stop sign, like they're looking right. And so, yeah, it happened in the crosswalk.
Yeah, that's awful.
There. And yeah.
What blows my mind is you're not the first person I've interviewed that's gotten hit by a car while running. I have at least 2 other guests, and I'm probably forgetting somebody else. And it's just so, it's infuriating, and it's also terrifying, right? I mean, yeah. So in that moment, like, do you remember like coming to after that happened? Or, I mean, what was that experience like, if you don't mind sharing?
So I was, my first memory is kind of like I'm on the ground, and I had people that saw it happen.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Coming towards me. And I had my phone on me. So I was able to give my phone to them and have them call Joe, my husband, and Annika. And they called 911 and all of that. And they wanted me to stay there. And I did not, like, I'm in the middle of the road. Like, no, I do not want to stay here. And I moved over to, I think, the curb. Most of my memories are of flashbacks that I've had of the accident, which those flashbacks slowly came in like a 2-year period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so did you then, I'm assuming you went to the hospital from there, like an ambulance came and picked you up?
I didn't. I had the firemen came and did an assessment, and there was a police officer. Sorry, I'm kind of like, there was, my memory is kind of like,
I'm sure you try not to think about it very often.
Yeah. So. Police officer came, questioned me. The driver stayed behind, and they said, your vitals are okay. So we're going to give you the option of whether or not you go to the hospital. And I was in shock, and my house was 2 blocks away.
I just want to go to my house.
I just want to go to my house. And so anyway, that's the decision I made in the moment. And, I have people ask me all the time, well, did you break anything? What was broken?
Sure.
And he's like, well, I didn't break any bones, but I was broken. And, the soft tissue damage that I had was, the healing of that is a long process.
Yeah,
and
I
it took
imagine
a very
very
long
painful.
time to find the right team of people to to bring me back, because I was in chronic pain for a good year and a half. A lot of it was, like pelvis and tailbone. I couldn't stand up or sit down without being in excruciating pain. And we don't need to spend a lot of time on that, but those were really, really dark days.
Mm-hmm.
But I eventually found through my massage therapist, this wonderful woman who practices what you call the Berry method. And it's very gentle. How would I describe it? Gentle massage, manipulation of soft tissue, moving things around to regain alignment and remove trauma from the body. And after my first session with her, I turned the corner.
Wow.
And eventually, about just over 2 years later, I ran my first 5K back of the next new phase of the
next
story,
new phase
at Napa.
Oh man. And that had to, it's like these moments where you feel that emotion again. Like you're like, okay, now I'm back after being a mom. Now I'm back after my accident. It feels so hard starting over. Like as a coach and as an athlete, like could you share some advice for perhaps somebody who's listening that's like, I'm starting from ground zero. Like I've had an injury, I've had a surgery, I had a kid. Like what advice would you give that person?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I think really being willing to meet yourself where you are. And I think it's okay to, like after my accident, like I wasn't even calling it a new chapter. I'm like, this is a new book. I am a different person.
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
So it's this gentle balance between finding some excitement and joy and having a fresh start, but also trusting. And I got this from the woman who really helped me get back to running. She's like, you have the neural capacity to run. All of those memories, all those years of running are in your body, and you're going to be running again. And so it's having belief that this new chapter or new book or however you want to look at it, that you are going to get it back, but accepting that it's not going to look like it did before.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like not being tied to what you were before, but also still having these big dreams out there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fine lines in there.
Totally. Yeah. I can't imagine. I mean, I only know it from coming back from having kids, that concept, and that was traumatic actually for me, but it's like for people who have had experiences like yours and you're watching all your friends and everybody else like continue to do it. And it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
I remember when I was still injured and not running, and we were driving out east and we were driving by the Cascades and just looking up at the mountains. And it's where I have one of my most memorable 100-milers was in the Cascades there, and just bawling. This was before I believed that I could get back and was faced with, I might never have that lifestyle ever again.
Yeah.
But it's also, so really then I'll call her my therapist, talking to me about that neural capacity. I mean, that was so helpful. And she used visualizations of when I was lying on the table and she was working on me, of like climbing mountains and floating in the water and connecting with the environment that had been supporting me through my journeys for the last several years, and finding strength in that. So those are other things that I have to go back to if I'm having a bad moment in a race or feeling unmotivated, get out the door, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really,
I have no idea if I answered your question.
You did. No, you did. Well, I don't think there is like a real answer anyway. Like, everybody's so different too in their journeys, but I think hearing your perspective and what has helped you get back or start this new book or whatever, however, again, you want to put it, I think it's really helpful to hear that. And So it almost seems like just, I don't know, serendipity, God wink, whatever you want to call it, that, at the time of your accident, that Western states decided you didn't have to run 100K every single year to keep your tickets in the lottery. I mean, because like you said,
Right.
your dream was still alive miraculously
Right.
because
I
they
mean, that
changed
was
that
the
rule.
first when I first was hit by the car, that was the first thing that went through my mind was all my tickets are gone.
I mean, I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Not like, am I okay?
Not like, am I going to survive? It's like, where are my tickets? Please, do you think they'll make an exception for me? Like, yeah. I mean, that's so much blood, sweat, tears, years,
But
miles. Ugh.
so when I learned that the rules had changed, that was a game changer for sure.
Yeah. Thank
But
goodness.
then my getting back to the 100-mile distance took longer than
I
I'd
mean,
hoped. I had some kind of, still working through some little injury stuff as I did start running again. I had a couple setbacks. I also chose to try and qualify at one of the most difficult 100Ks, which always lands on your first hot year in Northern California. Quicksilver 100K. Every year it's like 90 degrees.
oh my gosh.
Anyway, so I had a couple failed attempts there. And then this last year in October, I was like, I'm going to go run the Javelina 100. I'm going to get this done. I was injury free. I knew it was going to be hot. I was heat training. I had my best friend, like my best crew. And that race was going great until it wasn't. It was like I had everything dialed in. And then at mile 50, I was at I think it's called Jackass Junction. I went in to use the porta potty, came out. I was lightheaded, nauseous, but that happens in a 100-miler. I thought, it's fine. I'll just
keep
take a
going.
little break here.
Yeah.
I just need to have some broth and sit out for a few minutes and it'll work out. And that just eventually I was vomiting and made my way to the med tent. First time ever in a med tent. And
that's saying something after all those races.
And then, never left the med tent until they, the truck came to drive us back down the mountain. But that was going to be my qualifier to enter the 2025 lottery. The only other race I could have done for the 2025 lottery would have been Rio del Lago, which happens the next weekend. I knew I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, no. But then I knew about Tunnel Hill in Vienna, Illinois. It was in 2 weeks. And I thought, okay, I recovered really fast from Javelina. I said, I just basically had a 50-mile long run.
Yep.
And what if I go try and get my qualifier for 2026 out of the way at Tunnel Hill? And I called my brother who lives in the Midwest. He said, I'll come crew you. A family member on Joe's side up in Chicago said, I will drive down and pace you. So we threw it together in a very short period of time. And it was the first time my brother had ever been to one of my ultras. Really special to have him there and for him to
what are you doing?
Yeah. With the two of them, we made it happen.
Oh my gosh.
So I'll be entering the lottery this year for the 6th time. And Allie, 2026, I have to believe is going to be my year.
It better be, Michelle. Well, we're going to start a campaign because, I mean, good Lord. Oh, yeah. I mean, how many tickets are there in there now? Like, I mean, you've gotten so many.
Well, I've had 32.
Yeah.
But
there's probably thousands.
There are people that have a lot more than that are still
waiting. Man, I mean, that's like all the world majors.
And then there are the people that get in, on their first year.
Right, of course.
They're one ticket in the pot.
And you're like, cool, just don't tell me about that, okay? Right. I don't need to know. Oh, man. Jeez. 2 weeks prior. And I mean, I guess when you look at it that way, too, you're already running long runs for your race. So it's like, I mean, for someone like me thinking about running 50 miles and then thinking about running 100 miles, I'm like, what? But that's, I mean, you're putting that time on your feet, maybe not to that full extent, but
Right. I knew it was a gamble, right?
yeah.
Knowing I wasn't going to be recovered from that effort, but my regret of not finishing was going to be greater than not trying.
Yeah, that is well said. Yeah, I'm going to put that on repeat in my head. Okay, so all the good vibes for the ticket. Okay, when will you find out? When does that happen?
December.
December. Okay.
Mhm.
I will be thinking about you in December. You just better fricking get in because you deserve it at this point. My goodness. I mean, you coming back from the accident and getting all the way back up to that distance, even you saying it's not as fast as you wanted it to be, from where I'm sitting, I'm like, holy crap. That is just incredible. So incredible. So I want to talk about, we have to talk about Annika again and the book. And I want to talk about Boston qualifying stuff. So maybe while we're still on the frustration of getting into Western states and lotteries and stuff like that, let's talk about Boston, because that's a topic for me that it gets me going a little bit, because I'm like, man, that's something I'm chasing. So does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. So tell me your thoughts on Boston qualifying.
So most people don't qualify their first attempt at getting their BQ.
Mhm.
So it took me, 2 to 3 marathons. Well, I mean, several marathons, but 2 to 3 when I was like focused on getting that BQ to finally get it. So it's being patient. I think that working with a coach who has experience coaching individuals for that goal be helpful. And just, so right now, when I ran it in 2017, I told myself that I would try to come back every decade that I could.
Ooh, okay.
So because I have my qualifier out of the way in November for the lottery, it opened up 2025 for me to return to road racing. So, and I just turned 55, so I'm entering that new age bracket.
You're 55? I didn't do any math earlier if you gave me a hint, but I did not guess that. It's like, so you've got to be like 50 now. 55, I would not even. Anyway, sorry, continue.
So I'm like, okay, I have this year that I don't have to be on the trails. I could focus on the road. Why don't I go after that BQ that I said 10 years ago I would try and get? Well, now my qualifying time is back to almost what it was 10 years ago. If I want a 5-minute buffer, because I think it's now 4 hours. If I want a 5-minute buffer, 3:55, obviously. So I am training for the California International Marathon in December, where I will be going for a BQ to run Boston in 2027. And it's, we talk about that, going back to look at times from previous years and races, and really tempting to get caught up in that.
Yes.
And so I'm just trying to stay focused on show up today, do the work, see what happens.
Yes. That is another really well said. I'm like just making mental notes of these things that I will surely write down when I edit this episode. Yeah, it's so hard. It feels like a moving target for me. And I get so frustrated because it feels so close. And then they're like, oh, now it's going to be 5 minutes different and you need a buffer. And we don't know what that buffer is going to be. It just feels like you're chasing something that you can't see. And I hate that about it.
Yeah. One thing I'm wondering, and I think you mentioned the downhill on, maybe it was last week's
podcast,
yeah,
because yep.
So I'm curious, and this would be a question for the projectors out there, the projectors that like to
project
do all the stats.
Yeah.
And, if taking the downhills out, if that will change the buffer they're projecting.
I hadn't even really thought about that, which is kind of funny because obviously it's something I'm looking at, but
because it doesn't take more people out of the pool.
Yeah, because I mean, those are big races and they have a ton of people qualify. So yeah, I wonder what that does. Like if what percentage kind of difference that'll make. Yeah, that's a good point. But I was like, my plan, like I said, I was like, I was going to go back and run down the mountain because I mean, I need all the help I can get, but I also understand why they made that decision, so.
Right. So how many marathons have you gone for the BQ?
So I have not done
Okay.
that. So I like to say I'm being really, like you said earlier about patience. Like I said, when I got when I finished my first marathon post second baby, I thought I can still do this. And then I started working. I had worked with my coach. That was the first time I'd been coached in a marathon. And I thought, okay, I bet I could work on my speed. And I've since progressed. And I finished last November, the Monumental, in a sub 145. I was like 344 something. I forget. And so I'm like, okay,
Awesome.
like it's getting to where I can like see that happening. I can start to visualize that happening. Whereas before I was like, I did a sub 4-hour marathon before I had kids. And I was like, I'm done. I don't need to ever run another marathon. Yeah, we saw how that ended. I'm like still going.
That's amazing though, that you can, I think the key word there is visualize, right? You can visualize yourself running the BQ.
I mean, I tell myself if I want it, right? I mean, if at some point I decide that's not what I want because I'm not willing to put in the pain and suffering it takes to get there, then that's all right too. So it's such an interesting thing. It's just nice. I like that there's a goal out there to chase because ultimately what I say is I'm chasing my best, the best version of myself. And so if I still get there, that's great. I think it would be harder to run as a charity runner because of all the money that you have to raise, which is like, seems even harder. So props to people who've done that.
Right.
So, okay. So now how old is your daughter, Annika, today?
She's 21.
So now she's 21. Yay. So let's talk about her and the book in the time we have left, because I want to hear about what inspired you to write this book. And I also have the book. If people are watching, they can see it. But The Young Runner's Guide to Nutrition, How to Fuel Your Body to Train Smarter, Run Faster, and Recover Quicker. You can get it on Amazon. That's where I got mine. So tell us the story about the book.
Well, I think some of the stories I've shared all kind of led to this book happening. One thing we didn't touch on is that after I started run coaching, it was just 3 years later where I realized that nutrition coaching was something I really wanted to be able to offer my athletes as well. So I started nutrition coaching adults in 2012. And
will you pause and just say, okay, I do have the certification. So our CA level 2 run coach. And then, so is the C certified nutrition coach? Is that the
certified specialist in fitness nutrition through ISSA? That was my first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
Then I also have certified functional nutrition counselor just through continued education.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. Sorry. Continue.
So I had started thinking about a book probably 10 years ago. I didn't know, at first I thought maybe it might be a cookbook. Then I thought it might be something for the female runner. It was kind of just always just percolating back there in my brain. Well, like I said, Annika grew up playing club soccer. And then during the pandemic, she decided, I'm not having fun doing this anymore. I want to try running. So she started running her junior year of high school. She was schooling at home, going on runs from the house. And then, eventually that moved back into meeting up with her team outside the home. But I was observing, how she was eating throughout the day and how she was eating around her runs and the ease of being able to, make a breakfast at 1:00 in the afternoon because she was schooling from home to fuel her 4:00 in the afternoon run. It was great while she was schooling at home, but then you go back in school and then things look totally different. And so I was seeing the challenges that she was having, her team was having, I was invited to do a nutrition talk for her cross country team. And I don't know if it was while I was giving that talk or right after, but I had that light bulb moment and that this is the population that I want to reach first, because I see the struggles they're having and I want them to have a leg up in going into adulthood with knowledge that they might not have had, because I've been working with adults who either didn't have the education when they were younger, or they're new to the sport as an adult. And so those are some of the things that led to the book being for the young runner, because my goal for the young runner with the book is to understand physiologically what's happening in their body and to know that how they feel their body now is going to impact their adult health and well-being. And part of my passion there is, as we've been talking, you understand the longevity that I've had in the sport and the richness that it's brought to life. And if an athlete chooses to have that, I want them to have that. And
so that's how it all started.
That's how it all started.
So
and then
how did you end up working with Simon and Schuster? Because isn't that really hard? I don't know much about the publishing world.
The publisher it's an imprint. VeloPress is an imprint of Ulysses Press.
Okay.
And Simon and Schuster is the distributor.
Okay.
So when I was working on the book proposal, once I narrowed to, it was like, okay, this is who I'm writing for, then the book proposal started to flow. And I've had VeloPress books on my shelves over the years, because endurance sport is really what their niche is.
Okay.
And so I started following them and saw that Ulysses had bought them. And I was thinking, this is who I want to publish the book. I think they would be the perfect publisher. So a lot of what I was kind of writing to what they wanted in a proposal. So that was, January of 2023, I submitted my proposal to VeloPress. And I think it was 2 weeks later, I got a response that they wanted to publish the book.
So wait, you submit a proposal. Do you have a meeting, like a Zoom or anything, or you just submit your proposal?
Eventually the Zoom happens, but the proposal just goes out to an email.
That's
and
interesting.
They're also a publishing firm that doesn't, some will not take a proposal from an author. You need to have an agent. And I think that there are obviously pros and cons to having a literary agent. I wanted to try and go the route of not going through an agent. And so that's what I did.
And you did it. It's amazing.
And then it was 8 months of writing and timelines and edits and copy edits. And
now, would you ever like, when you're out running on the trails, like have your phone and like talk to your phone, like because I imagine on the run for me is where a lot of my ideas like percolate. And how is that for you? And how did you capture that, or did you?
No, that definitely happens. And then it's just, at least making sure I write those things down when I walk in the door. Yeah. I have to write everything down.
I swear I've had the best ideas. And then I come back and I'm like, what was that? Dang it. Yeah. Something could just read my mind. That'd be great. 8 months.
And I was prepared for that process. And then there's the waiting game, waiting for it to actually come out. And then what I wasn't necessarily prepared for is what happens after the book launches.
Right.
It's like, okay, I've written this book, and then
here it is.
Right.
Yeah. And when did it officially come out?
Early March
of this year, 2025. Yeah, it's my mother-in-law wrote a children's book. She now has 2, but it's kind of similar. It's like, she's like, it's there. People can buy it. So I've kind of talked to her about, I did a lot of marketing technology in my software days. And so it's like, you have to figure out how to get it out there. And so it's been fun, like brainstorming with her on things to do to promote her book. But what have you done since March? Like what are some of the things you're looking to do?
Well, I had a publicist through the publisher for 12 weeks. It was part of the
Oh, that's cool.
contract.
That's helpful.
And so they were booking podcasts and finding guest articles.
Perfect.
That sort of thing. And then it was really fun. Last month, I was able to go up to Seattle and I had a cooking segment on New Day Northwest.
Oh, that's so cool.
The morning show up there. So
which recipe did you make?
That was really fun. The apple almond chicken salad.
Ooh. Yeah.
If you Google Google or go on YouTube, I think the video of the segment
is out there. That's really cool. Yeah. Congrats. That's fun. That's so fun.
So it was fun. But now I'm going it on my own.
Yeah. So
and I honestly am going to, I think, take a little bit of a brain break.
Sounds much needed.
to get clarity on some of those. What's the clearest pathway here to reach the populations I'd like to? Because I want young runners to get the book in hand. I would love coaches to get the book in hand.
Yep.
So they can start communication around how do we get this nutrition education into our programs. And I want parents to feel supported.
Yeah.
Talking about guilt, I beat myself up way too much raising Annika. I struggled with not having dinner on the table at 5. It's just lifestyles just do not look that way anymore. Like,
yes.
As your girls grow up, they're probably going to be in 2 different sports, or one's in dance and one's in soccer, or whatever they choose. And you're just trying to
make sure they eat something at some point.
Figure it out. So,
yeah, it's tough.
So I try and I tried to give good, practical tips to get everybody involved, because I think common language, if the coaches are talking about good nutrition, if the young athlete cares about it, if the parents are like, yes, I'm creating a sign up genius to bring these mini meals and snacks for the kids to their practices and their meets, then I feel like if there's going to be change, that it really needs to happen at this grassroots
right
level.
Yeah. Oh, I could talk to you about the topic for quite a while too, just with, especially I feel guilty. Some nights they eat, you're like, okay, we're going to get a cheeseburger and fries, but I also, have taught my 7-year-old can make a protein smoothie all on her own. So I'm pretty proud of that. But then, just depends on the day. So.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing I've talked about is we want to try and support them in getting it right most of the time, but a burger and fries is okay. I was joking with another podcaster about Taco Bell drive-thru. When they're in high school, they're gonna go through the Taco Bell drive-thru. It's let's not have judgment around that.
Right.
Let's just help them.
Yeah. Well, and also just setting the right example. So, as I've learned more about nutrition, I know I have a lot of room to grow in the area, and I know that if they see some of that, that just rubs off on them. So. Yeah.
Right. I feel like as my daughter, we would butt heads around energy drinks and that sort of thing in high school. And thankfully, she's running at San Francisco State.
Oh, she is. That's so cool.
She's sharing the book with her teammates. She cooks out of the book. She now in her early 20s is modeling what I modeled for her when she was in high school.
It's awesome.
So even if it didn't 100% resonate them, then, they're watching, they're listening. And
Yep. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I hope you're just so proud of everything you've accomplished so far. And I feel like you're about to have the best December ever with a BQ and a Western States draw, right?
I love the energy you just put into that.
That's going to happen. Come on. Yeah. Visualize. How are you notified for Western States? Is it via email? Or do they do a live drawing?
So they do a live lottery. So Because it's the day before CIM in the same area, I'm planning to go to the live lottery.
Okay.
And if you're at the live lottery, you get one extra ticket.
That's amazing. I mean,
so in my dreams,
in my dreams,
I'm walking up on stage.
Okay. I can't wait to see that video. Oh, all right. Well, we've been talking for nearly 90 minutes. So I'm going to ask you the end of the podcast questions.
Okay.
Which one we just kind of already answered. But the first one is your favorite running mantra and or song.
Okay. So my mantra for this year is no doubts, only dreams.
Amazing. I need a tattoo of that. And then I'm assuming you don't listen to a ton of music when you run, because typically trail runners don't, but do you on like shorter runs? Or
I use it as a tool.
Okay.
You know, even on like 100 milers, I'll have it available if I need it. If I'm going into kind of a dark space and I need to bring myself out, it's like, okay, I'm going to let myself listen to music for an hour
and focus on that.
Put it away.
Yeah. Interesting.
And one song that's usually always in the playlist is On Top of the World by Imagine Dragons.
Yes, I like that one a lot.
There's that phrase in there, paying my dues to the dirt. I'm on top of the world.
Paying my dues to the dirt. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, so I've been paying my dues for a while now, Allie.
You're like, how much more do you want from me?
I'm gonna keep on doing it though. Yeah, I like to call my A goals or my big goals, I call them dreams instead of goals, because there's so much emotion behind them.
Yes.
And then my goals or my mini goals are what get me to achieving that dream.
And then the next question we just talked about was your next finish line or milestone. So next finish line, although it could be, I mean, we're only in June. So do you have other stuff that you're doing before December?
I have a 4th of July 5K.
Fun.
The Wharf to Wharf, which happens here in Capitola.
Okay.
It's a 6-mile race. There's a bridge that's out right now, so the course is changed for this year, but it's typically you run from the Santa Cruz Wharf to the Capitola Wharf.
Okay. That's
end of July. And then I'll go hot into marathon training, and I haven't decided on my half marathon lead up, but I'm leaning towards the Des Moines half marathon.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent.
My brother's out there, and so I can visit him, and I know the course.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm feeling really, and Scott has mentioned this before, like coming out that way and doing one of the races. And I was listening to you talk about the marathon and it being flat and fast.
If you got to come.
It's November, right?
It is early November, the 8th.
I need to put it on my list.
Just get it on your radar, because it's flat and fast, nice and cool. And yeah, it's now my PR race, because that's where I got my PR last year, and it'll sell out this year for sure. We usually do, but it sounds like it might be sooner rather than later, or getting to be sooner. So come on out. Be so fun.
Well, it won't fit into CIM training
right
this year, but I'll put it
we'll be here. We'll be here for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Michele, for doing this. It was such a pleasure to meet you and get to know you a little bit. And congrats on the book again.
Thank you. It was great to meet you. And I'm going to enjoy continuing to follow along and
thank you.
Give you shout outs where I can.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We didn't get to talk about your bouquet business, but.
Oh, but thank you. Yes, it does exist, people, if you need gifts for runners. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Michele. And thank you to everybody who has listened to this, and happy running.
If you enjoyed this episode of Finish Lines and Milestones from Sandy Boy Productions, please share with a friend, give us a rating. It really helps to grow the audience for this show. You can find me on social media. I'm Allie, ALLYT, Brett, BRETT, Allie T Brett _runs. And there were a couple of things I wanted to update you on from this episode, because Michele and I talked about how many run coaches there are certified by the RRCA. And today there are 10,000. As of 2011, there were 2,200 distance running coaches. So that just shows you the growth. I was really curious about that. So anyway, fun fact for you. And then if you are ever out in Seattle area and need trail recommendations, I cut that part of the episode for sake of time and the nicheness of it, but she has great recommendations. I went to Seattle for a wedding and was able to run in a couple of the places that she mentioned. So you can find Michele on Instagram at P3 Running Coach. So if you're ever in her neck of the woods or the areas that she's lived, she makes great recommendations. So thanks so much for joining this week. Again, share, rate, review. I will see you again next week.